The rain hadn't stopped since morning, and the tiny black umbrella barely shielded the little girl's trembling shoulders. Her dress, once white and pretty for her father's funeral, was soaked through, clinging to her small frame. People had left hours ago, yet she still stood beside the grave, holding a wilted daisy in her muddy hands. "Daddy said I'd never be alone," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But why does it feel so cold now?" From a distance, a tall man in a dark coat watched quietly, his jaw tight, eyes glistening with a pain he couldn't yet name. He had come only to pay respects to an old friend, but what he saw that day would change everything. When little Emily returned home that evening, the house didn't feel like home anymore. The lights were dim, and her stepmother, Veronica, sat in the armchair by the fire, sipping tea with an expression colder than the storm outside. "You're back," Veronica said flatly, not looking up. "I hope you said your goodbyes." Emily hesitated at the door, clutching her small backpack. I brought flowers for Daddy. He liked daisies." "Your father is gone," Veronica snapped. "And this house is no longer yours." Emily blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" Veronica rose, towering over the trembling girl. "I mean you're leaving tonight. Your father left nothing to you, only debts. I won't have a useless mouth to feed." The little girl's heart dropped. "But Daddy said he made sure I'd be safe." Veronica laughed bitterly. "Safe? You'll be lucky if someone even takes you in. Now get out." She opened the door, and the cold wind howled through the hallway. Emily stood frozen, tears spilling freely. "Where will I go?" "That's not my concern," Veronica said, pushing her out. "Goodbye, Emily." The door slammed, and the rain returned, heavier this time, like the sky itself was crying for her. Emily walked down the empty street, her shoes splashing through puddles. Every window she passed was glowing warm with light, but none opened for her. Her small backpack held only a teddy bear, her father's old watch, and a photograph of them at the park, smiling, before everything went wrong. She found shelter beneath a closed bakery's awning and curled up against the wall. Her lips were blue, her hands shaking. The teddy bear pressed against her chest was all she had left. That's when headlights approached slowly. A sleek black car stopped nearby, and a tall man stepped out, the same man from the funeral. He looked at her with a mixture of surprise and concern. "Hey there," he said softly, crouching to her level. "Aren't you Emily?" She blinked up at him. "Do I know you?" He smiled faintly. "You might not remember me. I was your father's friend. My name's Daniel Hart." "Daddy said your name once," Emily whispered, eyes wide. "He said you helped him when nobody else would." Daniel's heart clenched. "And he helped me, too." He took off his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. "What are you doing out here, sweetheart?" Her voice cracked. She said, "I can't stay there anymore." He froze. "Who said that?" "My stepmother," Emily whispered. "She said Daddy left nothing. She told me to go away." Daniel's expression hardened, and a storm brewed behind his calm gaze. He looked toward the distant house and then back at the trembling girl. "You're coming with me," he said quietly. "I won't let him down again." By morning, Emily woke in a warm guest room with white sheets, breakfast waiting beside her bed. For a moment, she thought it was a dream, but when Daniel appeared at the door, carrying hot cocoa, she realized it was real. "Eat," he said with a kind smile. "You've had a rough night." As the days passed, Emily began to talk again, slowly, carefully. She told him about her father's last words, about how he'd promised to take her to the seaside once he recovered. Daniel listened, his heart breaking each time she said, "Daddy." But there was one thing Daniel hadn't told her yet. Her father had once saved his company from ruin. He owed everything he had to that man. And now, his daughter was being treated like garbage in her own home. Daniel decided to act. He visited Veronica the next week, arriving in the same black car, his presence commanding. She tried to greet him with a fake smile, but he cut her short. "Let's not pretend," Daniel said coolly. "I know what you did to Emily." Her smile faltered. "I don't know what you're talking about." "She's a child," he said sharply. "And you threw her out in the rain after burying her father." He stepped closer. "Her father, who saved my company, and by extension, your lifestyle." Veronica's face went pale. "That's absurd. You have no proof." "I have enough," he said, pulling out a folder. "The property still legally belongs to Emily until she turns 18. Every document your husband signed is here. You forged your name on the transfer papers, didn't you? Veronica froze, speechless. Daniel leaned in. You have two choices. Leave quietly, or face the law. The silence was thick, broken only by the ticking of the mantel clock. Finally, Veronica's mask cracked. She grabbed her jewelry box and stormed out without another word. Daniel stood in the empty living room, breathing deeply, before turning to see Emily standing at the door, clutching her teddy bear. Is she gone? She asked softly. He nodded. She's gone. Emily hesitated, then ran into his arms. Thank you. Daniel knelt and hugged her tightly. Your father was my friend, he whispered. And I made a promise today, to be yours too. Months passed. Emily smiled again, real smiles this time. Daniel made sure she went to school, learned piano like her father always wanted, and never went hungry again. She filled the mansion with laughter that had long been missing. One evening, she handed him a piece of paper, her first school essay. At the top, in her neat handwriting, it read, My hero. Daniel read it quietly, tears welling in his eyes as he saw her words. He found me when I had no one left. He made me believe my father's promise again, that I'd never be alone. He looked at her and smiled through the tears. Your father would be proud, Emily. She grinned. He is, Mr. Hart. Because you kept his promise. Outside, the same rain that once drove her to the streets now danced softly on the windows, gentle, forgiving, like a blessing from above. And somewhere beyond the clouds, her father finally smiled, too.